In a world filled with divisions, where borders rise between people and compassion grows thin, Jesus told a story, a simple story, yet more powerful than kingdoms and armies. A story about kindness that crosses barriers, mercy that defies expectations, and love that moves beyond the limits of religion, nationality, and pride. It is a story of a traveler, a man in need, and a stranger who became a hero. Today, we journey into one of the most influential parables ever spoken by Jesus, the parable of the Good Samaritan. Open your heart, quiet your mind, and let this timeless story unfold. It began with a question asked not from curiosity, but from a desire to test Jesus. A lawyer, an expert in the Mosaic law, stood up and asked, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus, knowing the motives of every heart, answered with a question of his own. "What is written in the law? How do you read it?" The lawyer responded confidently, quoting the scriptures, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." Jesus said, "You have answered correctly. Do this, and you will live." But the lawyer was not satisfied. He wanted clarification, justification, and perhaps a loophole. So he asked, "And who is my neighbor?" And with that question, Jesus began a story that would turn the world upside down. Jesus said, "There was a man who traveled down from Jerusalem to Jericho. The road from Jerusalem to Jericho was infamous, a steep, winding descent of more than 20 kilometers through rocky desert, caves, and cliffs. Travelers nicknamed it the Bloody Way because robbers often hid among the rocks, waiting for anyone who passed alone. And so it happened that a man walking this road fell into the hands of thieves. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him mercilessly, and left him half dead by the roadside. There he lay broken, bleeding, barely breathing. The scorching sun pressed down. Dust stung his wounds, his vision blurred. Time passed, yet no help came, until a figure appeared in the distance. A priest, a holy man, a servant of the temple. Surely the wounded man's hope would return. Surely compassion would come with him. But as the priest approached, he slowed. He hesitated and then moved aside. Carefully, intentionally, he passed by on the other side of the road. Perhaps he feared impurity. Perhaps he feared danger. Perhaps he simply did not want to get involved. Whatever his reason, the man of God kept walking. The wounded man's heart sank. If a priest would not help him, who would? Soon after, another traveler approached, a Levite, a man assigned to assist in temple worship. He saw the wounded man, and he too paused. For a moment, hope flickered, but like the priest, the Levite stepped aside. He avoided the suffering. He continued on his way. Two religious leaders, two men trained in the law, two opportunities for mercy. Both walked away. The man on the ground was now fading, his breath shallow, his strength slipping. And then, footsteps. Again. But this time, those footsteps came from someone unexpected, someone unwanted, someone despised. Jesus continued, "But a Samaritan, Asetrabelet, came where the man was." A Samaritan. To Jesus' Jewish audience, the word itself was bitter. Jews and Samaritans avoided each other for centuries, divided by history, religion, ethnicity, and hatred. No one listening expected the Samaritan to help. In fact, they likely expected him to rejoice in the man's suffering. But Jesus said, when he saw him, he had compassion. Not pity, not obligation, but compassion, heart deep, action moving compassion. The Samaritan approached the wounded man. He knelt beside him, felt his pulse, checked his wounds. Then he did something shocking. He cleaned the man's injuries with wine, an antiseptic. He soothed them with oil, a healing balm. He tore his own garments to bandage the wounds. Then he lifted the man onto his own donkey, placing the stranger where he himself would have ridden, and slowly, gently, he led the animal forward while walking beside him, ensuring the injured man did not fall. He brought him to an inn. He stayed the night, watching over him, tending to him, feeding him, caring for him, a stranger, a supposed enemy. The next morning, he went to the innkeeper. He said, "Take care of him. Here are 2 denarii, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you when I return." No limit, no condition, no expectation of return. Poor mercy, pure love. Jesus finished the story and turned to the lawyer, the man who had asked, "Who is my neighbor?" Jesus asked, "Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell among thieves?" The lawyer could not even bring himself to say the word Samaritan. Instead, he answered, "The one who had mercy on him." And Jesus said, "Go and do likewise." Go, not think, not devate, not feel, and go and do likewise. The command still echoes today. This story is not merely ancient history. It is a mirror. It reveals us. It challenges us. It calls us to something greater. We are the priest when we choose convenience over compassion. We are the Levite when we see suffering but walk away because it is not our responsibility. We are the lawyer when we try to limit whom we must love. And yet, we are also called to be the Samaritan, the one who crosses boundaries to show mercy. The Good Samaritan teaches us love is action. Compassion costs something. Neighbor is not defined by distance, ethnicity, or similarity, but by mercy. True godliness is shown not in knowledge, but in kindness. When Jesus said, "Go and do likewise," he was calling us to live a life where love interrupts our plans, where compassion overrides prejudice, where mercy crosses the road instead of avoiding it. If you see someone wounded emotionally, spiritually, physically, cross the road. Go to them. Care for them. Lift them up. Be the hands that bind wounds. Be the voice that comforts. Be the heart that shows mercy. For in doing so, you are reflecting the heart of Jesus himself. The parable of the Good Samaritan is more than a story. It is a calling, a reminder that every person we meet is loved by God. a challenge to live with compassion that transcends every barrier. So today, and every day, may we choose to see the wounded, to stop, to care, to love, to act, for love is the path to life, and mercy is the way of Christ. This has been the parable of the Good Samaritan. May its message guide your heart, shape your choices, and awaken compassion within you. The end. Like and subscribe for more stories for the soul.